I've given you an equation in standard form, and you need to create a perfect square trinomial. Right now, is this a perfect square trinomial?
No.
How do you know it's not a perfect square trinomial? I have my A, B, and C. Let's just quickly go over how do you know if something is a perfect square trinomial? B has to be equal to what? Square root of A times square root of C times 2. Okay? The square root of A is 1. I can't even find the square root of 2. It's a decimal. Okay? Perfect square trinomial. A and C must be perfect squares. So we need to change the value of C. That's the problem here, right? C is not a perfect square, and it doesn't follow these rules. How do we find C? What does C have to be equal to?
G over 2 squared.
Good. Whatever B is, if we take B and we divide it by 2 and then square it, that will create a perfect square trinomial, right? So we want to change our C. Now we can't just get rid of this plus 2 because it's part of the equation. So we're going to leave the plus 2 here. Okay, we're going to leave that right now. Okay? But I'm going to create a perfect square trinomial using this. So it's going to start with x squared plus 6x plus, I need to apply the rule where C has to be equal to B divided by 2 squared. What's my B value? What's B? Positive 6. So C has to be equal to 6 divided by 2 squared. What's 6 divided by 2? 3 squared. So if I make this 9, okay, if I make the third term, if I make C 9, did I create a perfect square here? Perfect square trinomial. I can't just all of a sudden say, oh, I'm just going to add 9 to my equation. You can't just change your equation and add 9 to it, right? You can't do that in math. You can't just add 9 to something. If I add 9 and then take away 9, am I changing the equation?
No.
What's 9 take away 9?
Nothing.
So I'm technically adding nothing.
Yes.
Okay, so I want you to write that.
But that's not.
But I want to have my perfect square trinomial to just say x squared plus 6x plus 9, right? I don't want this minus 9. This is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create a perfect square trinomial. So I need to remove negative 9 from the bracket. What's in front of the bracket right now? What's my A value? 1, right? A is 1. So I need to distribute and get rid of the negative 9. If I multiply something inside a bracket by the number in front of the bracket, I'm taking it outside of the bracket. Okay, so what's 1 times negative 9?
Negative 9.
So now I've distributed that and I've taken it out of the bracket. Okay, so we're going to simplify. We're going to leave this perfect square trinomial. I've just created a perfect square trinomial, and now let's simplify. What's negative 9 plus 2? Good. Shh. We were trying to complete the square. We were trying to make a perfect square trinomial so it's easy to factor. So let's factor. What is x squared plus 6x plus 9 written in factored form? How do you factor a perfect square trinomial? Yes. Yeah, what's the answer? X plus 3 times x plus 3, right? Which is x plus 3 squared. I take the square root of the first term, x, square root of the last term, because this is a perfect square, 3. The middle term is positive, so it's plus. And we would write that twice, so I'm just putting it in short form. X plus 3 squared, take away 7. Where's the vertex?
Negative 3, 7. Negative 7.
Negative 3, negative 7.